Okay. Hello. So my name is Nicole. One of the coaches, and I posted earlier this week that I'm just gonna do a quick Q&A today. So I do have a couple questions that people posted that I'll talk about, but if you are watching this and any questions come up, go ahead and type them and I will do my best to answer them if I can. But yeah, otherwise this will be probably a pretty quick one unless I get to talking a bunch, which could happen. So one of the questions that came up was going through big life changes, transitions, and getting back on track. And this seemed to tie in really well actually with another question about like getting out of that mindset of not doing enough if you're not working out, or if you're working out less than maybe you used to work out or something like that. So I'll kind of hopefully I can answer kind of both of them through this, and I'll go back and forth. So I know a big thing that a lot of my clients often hear from me when we talk about like being on or off track is kind of just to shift that mindset to it being more of a continuum. So just because we're not tracking, just because we're not like doing every single thing does not mean that we're on track or off track, or that we're not making progress. Because even just doing one thing differently than you might have done in the past can still help you to see progress over time. So I think that's a big thing, is first off just shifting that mindset that you're either on or off track. It's kind of like you might be doing more sometimes, you might be doing less sometimes, but both are okay depending on what's going on in your life. So life changes go. I know like moving can be a really big one, especially if you're moving to like another country or something. Maybe you're moving out from your parents, anything like that. Starting a new job, just any big life transition. And I think one of the biggest things to going through those is to set your expectations low. And I realize that this might sound silly, like, why would I want to expect less of myself? But just because you're like totally nailing stuff and crushing life in one area of your life or like in one setting doesn't mean that you have to like do the same thing right away. When a big part of your life changes, like it's okay to give yourself some time, and it might be a couple weeks, it might be a month, it might be even more than that, but just to like find your new routine, find your new normal. So that's kind of what I mean about setting your expectations low, is that it is okay to not expect yourself to do everything all at once, and to do everything that you were doing before when your life changes. Because so much comes with moving. Like you have access to different groceries and different grocery stores, and your routine's different. Maybe your commute's different. So really just setting your expectations low. And then you can, as you are feeling more comfortable, you can continue to increase from there. I think another thing that can be really helpful is to set non-negotiables for yourself that you can do pretty much anywhere. And this can also work like when you're going on vacation or things like that. But so say you have this big life change going on, you move out from your parents' house, you move to a new country, all these things are going on. Like, I'm guessing wherever you move to or wherever you're going probably still has water, because we have to be drinking water, or hopefully access to that. So, but my point is that like getting in your water or staying on top of your water intake can be a non-negotiable. That is like super important for energy, for digestion and all that, but really just like helping you to feel your best. So I know like for me, regardless of what's going on in my life, staying up with my water intake is kind of a non-negotiable for me. So some other examples could be maybe like your journaling that you do every day. So regardless of where you're at, that you set aside 5 minutes to journal or write down things you're grateful for, things like that. Could be that you try to get a vegetable in once or twice a day. But just like little things like that might not feel like a lot in the moment, but over time they'll add up, and they will help you to feel better than if you weren't doing those things at all. So I think with any big life change, just finding, even if it's just one thing or a couple of things that are your non-negotiables that you can do for yourself to take care of you. And then also, I think a big thing is, especially like if you have a family or kids, is it can feel like you need to take care of everyone else first, and then you can get into your routine, or then you can do things to take care of yourself. But it's okay to put yourself first sometimes, because that's going to allow you to be there and be more present and be more available for those people in your life that you care about. So just making sure that, kind of the same thing with non-negotiables, that you are picking a couple things that help you to feel good and help you to feel happy and successful, and then you can continue to build on those. And then kind of this goes along with like changing your mindset around not doing enough when working out less. This can often happen when big life changes are going on. I know when I started as a WAG client, I was in my final semester of grad school. And I was working full-time, going to school full-time, and so I was training way less than I would have liked to. And that was really tough. But I think there's a couple of things. Is it really depends like on your goals. So of course, if you your goal is to go to the CrossFit Games, then we might need to find a way to train a little more. But if like your goal is to like enjoy what you're doing, continue to improve over time, and just like adjust to the rest of your life and everything that you do outside of training, that's okay. There's still so many things that are in your control. Like we can adjust your food if you're not training as much, so that we can continue to work towards your goals or make progress. And just like kind of reminding yourself that this time in your life is temporary too. So just because you're not training a ton now doesn't mean that it will be that way forever. Same thing here is that more is not always better too. So maybe training less might allow you to be more efficient during your training sessions, or have more of an intention for each training session versus just trying to get in there and do as much as you possibly can. But I think that's the big thing is kind of just reminding yourself that it's temporary, that it won't have to be that way forever, and that there are still things that are in your control, like your food intake, your water, trying to get extra movement in throughout the day. So maybe if you're working a bunch, maybe you can try to get some extra steps in at work, things like that. So let me see. And then the last question that I had was how to know if high fat, low carb, all these different ways of eating, which one is best for you. And I wish that I had a more exact answer for you, but initially it can be really tough to know what might work best for you, and that's part of why I think a lot of people come to WAG or hire a coach, is that you want someone to help you find what works best for you. I think the biggest thing to remember is that there's no right or wrong way to do things. So just because keto works for somebody that you know doesn't mean that that is the only thing that will work for them, or that is the only thing that will work for you. So there's no right or wrong way. I know people that eat much different than I do, and they're like totally crushing their goals and feeling good. And so we're both doing what works best for us, which is the important thing. And a big way is just to try different things. So maybe you start your macros with your coach, and make sure that you're taking note of like all those different ways to measure progress. So not just looking at the weight on the scale, but looking at like how are your workouts feeling, how are you recovering, just all those different ways. And even outside of that is more just like your lifestyle. So like what kind of foods do you like really love and enjoy? Because like if you maybe you don't like a lot of foods that are higher in fats, or maybe you really like carbs, like fruits and breads and pastas and rice, and then the best thing that works for you is going to be when you can enjoy or eat food that you actually enjoy. Because if you can't eat the food that you like, you're probably not going to want to stick to whatever you're doing. And so even if maybe your body feels great on that for a couple weeks, if it's not something that's sustainable long term for you, then it might not be the best fit for you. So I think that's a big thing. It's also important to take into consideration like your goals. So like when everyone starts WAG and you're filling out your initial questionnaire, you'll talk about like the type of exercise that you do. And we might, as coaches, we might use that to, or we do use that to help us set your macros and your ratios and different things like that. But we're going off like what we know to work best and what's worked for us in the past and with other people. That doesn't mean that it will always work for you or your goals. So really just taking into consideration your goals and then shifting things from there. So basically, there's no right or wrong way to do it. It's just finding what you can stick to in really great circumstances and then even like really tough times too. So yeah, I don't know if I have any other questions. I'll post a little bit of what I talked about in the notes, and then if anybody has any burning questions, you can post them on here and I can answer them later. I'll type them up. So, okay, have a great weekend. Bye.